Hello and welcome. My name is Ariani, and today I am going to be talking about a really exciting topic for me. And I have been getting this idea or the thought, like, I initially got the thought of this idea um, a long time ago, but I wasn't like receiving any further information. So I am so happy that I kind of like received the full information and I am ready to share it with you all. So today we will be talking about the biggest blocks into you finding, getting in contact with your gifts. Um, and And I love this topic so much because this topic is one that is going to bring a lot of value into your life and one that lets you know that you came here with gifts to offer to the world, and that you can use for yourself as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to start talking about the biggest blocks to finding your natural talents and gifts. Number one, if you constantly dim your light and diminish yourself, this is a block. Because when we are gifted, our gifts naturally are going to be magnetic and attractive to other people. But if you are constantly dimming your light, meaning you like the word that is coming to mind right now is humble, but but I think a lot of people confuse humbleness with like dimming your light. You can still be humble about your gifts, which means that you are rooted in reality and in the present moment, and acknowledge that you have talents that other people um that heal other people, that you have gifts to offer the world, and that's completely two different things. So if you're constantly dimming your light, it's going to be hard for you to recognize what your natural talents are and what you were gifted with. Number two, and this is like for me, this was like a big block for me. So because it is natural to you, like usually our talents are natural to us and they come a little bit more effortlessly. It does not mean that we don't have to like study our craft or practice it, but because it comes so natural for us, we do not think is a gift or a talent. And I give you guys an example. When I first started using makeup as a beautifying practice, I remember the mother of my stepmom. Um, she was like, "Oh, this is like a talent." And those were in the beginning years of like my makeup journey. And when she said that, I felt so much resistance in my body. And I remember thinking, no, this is not like a talent. Like I practice for it. And yes, while we can practice and hone in our gifts, they are still gifts. So even if you practice it, those are still gifts. So I didn't think that that was like a gift of mine, like my ability to recognize and see beauty and use makeup as a beauty practice. I never saw that as a talent. So I was like very resistant to that because it just came so natural to me as well. And it was like, and I used to it came natural, but also I used to like practice every day, but it didn't felt like practice because I loved it so much. The third block is that you do not value your gifts. And um like for example, I'm a naturally a generous person. And because and there was a point in time where my generosity, I did not have like any boundaries. It was hard for me to have like boundaries, period, in my life. Like I was really bad with boundaries. But with my gifts and talents, because they were natural to me and it was something that I love, I gave so much freely. And yes, we certainly can do that, but also we have to um, value it and we have to care for it and we have to nourish it. Whether that is, because we live right now in a capitalistic society, do an exchange for um, financial compensation. That can be one way, or another way to value it is by taking care of your body and your gifts. So like that is another block into us seeing what truly makes us special, and what are our natural gifts and talents. Number four, because it is not popular, you do not think it's special. Yeah, this is another huge block in the collective. So, because some of our gifts are so unique and so special, and sometimes they're very niche, we can think that, oh, because it's not popular, that doesn't mean it's not valuable, or that it is not special. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to value it without it being popular and without having a big audience. Is you going into your body and embodying that truth, that even when your gifts are not to serve, let's say, the general public, they are to serve a certain group of people, and that doesn't make it less special. um Number five, uh even though like some of our gifts we are born with them, there is a stage where we are going to feel like we are beginners. And because you think you are a beginner, like you think you shouldn't value it. And I think this is an erroneous thought, because even at the beginning stages of your gifts, or when you're truly trying to hone in and like sharpen those skills, they are still very valuable. So as now that I'm like going through the list, I'm noticing a pattern that it is about valuing your gifts and valuing and self-worth. So yeah, even if you are a beginner, there is still value in that. And going back to the beginning part, I wrote down that you need to be kind to yourself and your evolution. So like when we are in the beginning stages of something, we have to be kind, and we have to um, send love and energy to that aspect of us that was a beginner, and that is a beginner. And a story is coming up to my mind right now. I This weekend I went to celebrate one of my cousin's birthday, and like she was kind of like the first person that I knew like was doing makeup professionally. And I remember many, many years ago, she did like a smoky eye and like a rainbow eye to me. And we were actually talking about that story like while we were in dinner. And I remember she started berating, like, oh my God, that makeup was so ugly, blah, 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 blah. And just talking like so bad about that version of her that created that makeup. And it was so crazy because in my experience, I remember that when she did that makeup, I was like, she did that makeup on me. I remember that makeup, like I felt so good, and I felt like it was so beautiful. And yes, while her skills and now are sharpened and better, I wouldn't even say better, but are sharpened compared to that version that was just starting, that doesn't mean that that person that did that makeup or that makeup was like bad. Um, and and also it's just part of the evolution. Like the way that we were doing makeup back then is not the same way that the way that we're doing makeup today. And that doesn't mean that the makeup that was done before was like bad. So again, be kind to yourself and your evolution, and that is one way to unblock those blocks of your natural gifts and talents. Another thing that blocks your gifts is that your gifts do not need validation. And this was a huge block for me, especially because I download ideas all the time and I answer questions that the collective might have all the time. And there's a lot of times where I felt like I needed external validation because I didn't trust the message that I was giving out to people, or the answers that I was giving out to people. And while I do agree that we should have people that look at what we're doing, at least me, because I like to have like mentors and teachers that can look over my work, and and I'm fearful of like running or like falling off the path, or doing something harmful. And while I do agree to have like those benchmarks like on place, I also agree that your gifts do not need validation. And when something is coming from the heart, and you also have like, those benchmarks, um, you don't need the whole world's validation, because that is when you are going to get frozen, because everybody can have so many different opinions on how to do things. Number nine, and this goes back to being kind to yourself, is just stop with the bad talking. There was one point, and I think you guys are going to find it in my YouTube channel, where I was like, your weirdness is your superpower. And while I do agree, like, that I'm into like weird things, like esoteric things, and just being a mystic and all of that, I later on, and like now, I'm no longer resonating with that. And it's not because I think that being weird, the way that I see it, is bad, but it's because I want to start talking to myself in a more empowered way. And like, instead of weird, I just call myself like unique or interesting. So that's just that. Number 10, another block is that even if people do not value it, that doesn't mean it's not valuable. Um, I'll share a story. I'll share my a story into like how I came to the realization that I was a healer, because I never considered myself a healer, um, because I I just thought like a healer was like a nurse, a doctor, and like, you know, people that are out there in like hospitals and things like that. I never considered myself a healer. But one time, I was like resting with my partner on the couch, and I remember he was like, "Oh my God, you have like such healing energy." And at first, I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Like, I never really like resonated with that, especially because I think being a healer has such a big responsibility in such a way. But I've come to understand that there are certain things that I do that create the space for healing to happen. And that's when I was like, you know what? I do resonate with the term healer, because there are certain things that I do that create the space for healing to happen. So, and at the same time, because a lot of the work that I do is on the unseen realms, or things that people are not really like noticing. Um, there are certain times that there have been people around me that do not value that, and that has been extremely hurtful. But when I stepped in and I recognized what I was bringing to the table, and what what were my gifts and my abilities, uh, I I stopped being so like overgiven of those things, and I nurture them now and I take care of them. Okay, another block is that you have shame in your body. So if there is shame in the body, that is going to be a huge block into you feeling safe and sharing your gifts in the world. And fear as well in the body. So if you have like shame and fear in your body, even if you try, there's going to be so many times where you like try to share the gifts in the world, but if you feel shameful about the things that you're doing, and if you feel fearful about the things that you're doing, you're going to push yourself and then you're going to burn out. So addressing the shame that is in the body and the fear that's on the body is going to help you be more on the body and not exhaust that energy, so that you can be more consistent with just exploring your gifts and sharing your gifts with humanity. And the last one, the biggest block is that, people would tell you all the time, but you won't believe it. And that goes back to like one of the first ones that I wrote down was that because our gifts are so natural to us, and most likely than not, they have been with us throughout our entire lives and throughout our childhood. It is like so hard for us to recognize what we're truly gifted at as. However, you will find mirrors all the time in the world that would tell you what you're gifted as. For example, if you're really good at like style and like fashion, people are always going to compliment you on the way that you dress. If you are like good at cooking, people are always going to compliment you on the way that you cook. If you are a good speaker, people are going to compliment you on that. So like there is no way for you to evade what you're gifted at, because you will always God will always send you angels to remind you what you came here to do. So thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that this was a good reminder um, of your natural gifts and talents, and that you are able to share it with the world. Bye bye.